Welcome to the No Stay Project here on my YouTube stream on Wednesday. So far plagued with some tech issues, but I think we've got it all settled. So hopefully for the rest of the show, we'll be able to take care of business here on the episode 47 of the No Stay Project commercial-free live stream here on the No Stay Project YouTube channel, which you guys are getting me pretty close to 10K subs, so if you're not subbed, definitely check that out. I know that those who were subbed got a notification that the show was starting at 4 o'clock today. Now, I've taken a link off the website to go directly into the Skype chat, which is primarily for prepping for court. It's not for arguments and debates. You want to do that in another chat. It's easy enough just to set that up. Just contact me at FrankRizzle3 if you need to get into the chat, and I will put you in there. So I tell you, and I just released another video here today. It's only a few minutes, about 5-6 minutes long. Oh, and I have to remember, libertopia.org. It is May 3rd through May 6th. It's coming up real fast, so definitely go to libertopia.org to find out about that. One of the things I wanted to, what I was mentioning on the show last time, and it always gets under my skin, and I know this is a personal issue with me, I can't help but be really bothered by the fact that anyone who questions government, we are automatically deemed not credible. Just asking the questions. It's just like I have evidence from a sitting city councilman, and I try to get this, I try to present the evidence to the news, and all they can say is that my argument is invalid when they won't even look at the damn evidence. So we who question government and ask the question, where's your evidence? And examine the logic, look at it critically, not giving them a free pass. We're the ones who aren't credible. And yet, no matter how many damn cops are shown to be lying scumbags, that they actually have a term called test-a-lying, it is so bad that it is expected that lawyers, judges, they all expect that these cops are lying. But the average person still gives them credibility, at least more credibility than they would give someone who actually questions the police. And it makes me sick. And here is another example. If you really want to see just how bad some of these cops are, and there are quite a few police officers that are arrested for inappropriate behavior with minors, including rape and whatnot, and solicitation. And this week, I mean, every week it seems that but this was a police chief, a Pennsylvania police chief, for heaven's sakes. Wow, that's pretty high up there. A police chief who gained widespread attention after losing his arm in a summer fireworks accident, was arrested after soliciting sex from a teenage girl online. 40-year-old Chief Mike Diebold is being charged with 2 felonies, unlawful contact with a minor and criminal attempt to involuntary deviant sexual intercourse. The Western Pennsylvania police chief allegedly admitted to his wrongdoing, citing that he knew what he did was illegal. Well, he's the police chief. When he was caught, he admitted that his life was, quote, totally over. Well, yeah. So a hypocrite named the Attorney General Josh Shapiro is quoted as saying, "This case is particularly heinous because the perpetrator is a public official sworn to serve and protect the community. We have a zero-tolerance policy for the sexual abuse of children, and my office will prosecute any offender to the fullest extent of the law, no matter who they are." Sure. Oh, I'm sure you'd be happy to go after a judge. Sure. Oh, you're going to go after a judge who used to work in your office? Because we know prosecutors tend to become judges? Yeah. See, this is not an isolated incident by a long shot. Police and those in government have had a long history of abuse of children. Long. The Lawrence King, the cover-up in the 80s, is only one example. And of course, I'll always say the Mark Dutroux affair. This is a long-time thing. Diebold reportedly sent inappropriate photos through an online messaging app while soliciting sexual contact under the name Cute Cop for You. Little did he know he was in contact with a fellow police officer, albeit on the cover. Diebold stated that he had been using the internet to post ads in a personal section for the last several years. Diebold acknowledged to having conversations about sex with the other app user, the purported minor in this investigation, who that he was attempting to meet. Diebold admitted that he knew sexual contact with a 14-year-old child was wrong and illegal, and his life was totally over. So the mayor is quoted as saying, "All I can tell you is I'm shocked. I don't know what else to say." That's Leechburg Mayor Wayne Dobos. He told the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Wow. And the mayor says, right at the moment, he's still the police chief. I'll have to get with the lawyers and the council to go from there. This is all breaking news, and it's Friday already, and it'll be Monday till we can start calling the lawyers and see what goes on. The police chief soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl. Oh, why don't they just put this guy up on a pedestal, give him a pardon, and then he can run for Senate? Because, of course, you know, what is a shock is that they actually arrested a fellow police officer. That is a shock. You know, the thin blue line, crossing that. Yeah, I know, I'm an anarchist. I'm inherently biased against police. Well, I'm biased against criminals. I'm biased against bullies. I'm biased against people who can't bring their services to the market on a voluntary basis. I'm biased against people who use a prison system to get compliance. That's what I'm biased against. I'm biased against bullies that I can't stand. Don't like bullies. And this guy's a bully. So it's a big shock to me, and I was reading from Newsweek.com. I will, I'll get that in the video and get it in the show notes. But, oh, what I was mentioning before, real quick, I'll get to the calls. I did just release another video, checked it, about 6 minutes long. I was really surprised. I mean, you can't find anything, really. There's very little information about this David Gates posted online. I have one single picture, so if you get tired of looking at the picture, I'm sorry, but it's all we got to work with here. Almost nothing is known of this guy. I mean, he has no internet presence. Not that I can find, anyway. And I was really surprised to find that, and this is in the video, a judge who said to Germain, who was challenging jurisdiction, the prosecutor's claim of jurisdiction, and trying to hold him to some kind of burden of proof. Well, the judge, David Gates, came out and said he doesn't need evidence. The prosecutor doesn't need evidence to support their claim, and he, the judge, doesn't need evidence to support their claim. And yet, he's been reported as telling a jury in a murder trial that they may not speculate. They may not speculate. Well, what do you call it when you have no evidence to support your claim? Oh, that's right, you're guessing, you're speculating. So what he should have said was, hey, you don't get to speculate unless you got the robe on, all right? Unless you're one of the Queen's bench, one of the Queen's men, you don't get to speculate. We are honorable. I guess that's what honorable means. We're allowed, it's honorable when you're allowed, by law, to speculate, ruin people's lives. That's what they're good for. So we're going to go, he's been on the show before. We got Tyler.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing, hey. We got a caller online, so that we're doing pretty good. Yeah, how you doing today, Tyler?
Hey, good. Hey, I don't know if you remember me, I talked to you last year about the red light out in California.
I do remember you calling, but I don't recall all the details, of course. You'll have to help us out with that.
Well, that's not really why I called. That's memory, if you remember. But I got those tickets overturned on the grounds that there was no element of jurisdiction as it related to those crimes.
Nice.
So I got those thrown out. But the real reason why I called here is I have a question for you about what it takes to recuse a federal judge.
To get a judge recused at the federal level, you pretty much have to catch them soliciting sex from a minor.
Okay.
in all seriousness, though, it's extremely difficult. There's no doubt there. It is really difficult.
Let me give you some backdrop. Let me give you some backdrop on the subject. Then, the Ninth Circuit ruled on a case of 5 defendants. The Ninth Circuit overturned the conviction, citing prosecutorial misconduct and judicial bias. The judge did not allow the defense to provide their defense. The judge stopped it at every point during the trial. So on appeal,
is this the Bundy case?
These people went to prison. These people went to prison for 6 months.
Oh.
And the case got overturned at the Ninth Circuit. So the 5th defendant, guy number 5, was just a secretary. He was an assistant to one of the defendants. And these were political officials that were illegally accused of political corruption. It was all over California newspapers. The San Joaquin County's worst political corruption case in history.
And it got overturned?
It was a political coup d'etat by the local DAs. Yeah, the whole thing got turned over. The premise was that they extorted a bunch of power plant people that were competitors so that they can get their power plant built at the Port of Stockton. So, long story short, it was all a ruse to attack a guy that was appointed in office by a Democratic governor, Gray Davis. Remember Gray Davis back in 2000?
Yeah, he's going back a long way.
That's when the case happened. So the FBI gets involved because the DA in San Joaquin County was deputized by the FBI because he's alleged political corruption. But what that deputized DA wound up doing was framing everybody. So right in the middle of a political election, they start slamming in the newspaper how politically corrupt these people are because the DA was marshalized by the FBI and tried to oust the appointed board supervisor. So long story short, defendant number 5 was going to be a witness for the supervisor. He was a witness. He witnessed the interview by the FBI. He himself was not ever interviewed by the FBI, ever. The DA never interviewed him. The FBI never interviewed him, but he was the assistant to this political official, and he walked in on the interview with the FBI, heard what was going on, warned his boss, be very careful what you say to these people. They're clearly not here to be your friend. Gets up and leaves and goes and makes himself known somewhere else in a different part of the building. And they charged this secretary that just walked in and warned him and left with lying to an FBI agent. He had won full physical custody of all 3 of his children in family law court, where the government used his ex-wife, who was facing criminal charges. I know this sounds crazy. She was facing criminal charges of assault with a deadly weapon against her ex-husband, who was the defendant number 5. And even though he was an exculpatory witness to an interview with a guy that was accused of lying to the FBI, he was a witness, and to get rid of him as a witness, the FBI used his criminally charged ex-wife as a witness against him to charge him with lying to the FBI to remove him as a witness. Now, in 2009, the McFall case got overturned in the Ninth Circuit. McFall versus U.S., 2009. So the premise to the government's case against everybody was overturned. And the thing that they're alleging that this 5th defendant did was not lied to an FBI agent, but made a false statement. Well, now, since the predicate claim of the entire case got overturned, it's irrelevant what this guy says because now it's immaterial whether he even made a statement or not. And his habeas corpuses were denied at the Ninth Circuit level because, and here's what the Ninth Circuit said, yes, he was in custody still under federal probation while he wrote his habeas corpus, but, and then goes on to describe the criminal conduct of the other 4 alleged defendants that got overturned. So he was denied at the Ninth Circuit level on a technicality of not filing timely, even though he was still under federal probation when he filed his habeas corpus. So now he's trying to, this year, by June, he will be filing a coram nobis, which is like the last chance writ on the face of the planet to be able to regurgitate everything that was said in the habeas corpuses, but in a format that now can be technically heard before the court without being denied for being timely, because the merits of the habeas corpus were never even looked at, even though he had an actual innocence claim and cited court. So this goes to the anarchist concept that it doesn't even matter whether you're right or wrong. If you're going into these federal courts, they're animals, they're monsters. Even when you stand on the law and you're an innocent guy that did nothing wrong and they decided arbitrarily and politically that a statement that you made at one particular time, whether you made it or not, was a false statement, which they're now, through innuendo, are translating it through 180 negative media reports and newspaper articles that these people are corrupt, and just because, something changed or a technicality doesn't mean you're innocent. So at the federal level, they have a 97% conviction rate because they play dirty, they're monsters, they're liars, and they deny motions on their face in spite of the fact of the actual innocence claim. So all of that being said, defendant number 5, who is now and I know there's issues with anarchists and religion, but he's an ordained minister. He was in religious studies and ancient history major when he dropped out of college to accept this position as a legislative secretary at an executive level at county government, just because he wanted to serve his country, and it was a great job. He could take care of his kids. His soulmate died of cancer right at Christmas time, and so he became a single father overnight, 3 kids. And the government, like they always do, sling mud at you. They will destroy your life just so you don't become a witness against them.
Well, yeah, they're vicious.
They were threatening 5 years of prison. They were threatening to take his children away that he had just got. And they were threatening to destroy his entire life if he went to trial. They say his own attorney was working with the U.S. attorney at the time and sat his client down in his office and pretended like he was having a private conversation with the U.S. attorney, but it was set up earlier with the U.S. attorney and that attorney to scare the shit out of this client into pleading, because that's what they do at the federal level. When they have no evidence, they threaten you, they scare you, they use your weakest point in your life, and they throw it in your face, and they threaten to take it away from you in spite of the fact that you actually have an actual innocence claim. That's our government today. Yeah, that's what they're doing at the federal level.
But it's always been that way. And I'll tell you, it is bad at the federal level. And I do tell people that it's bad. I mean, these people, you're right, they are monsters.
It's really bad. I am a witness because I have been a constitutional law paralegal for 30 years.
Okay, but I had something happen right in line with what you're talking about at the state level, where they had it was a drug charge. They had, and I haven't mentioned this in a while because it bothers me still so much to this day, what they did, what this lawyer did. This was a kid who was arrested on felony drug charges in Nevada, and they didn't find any drugs. It was all based on the say-so of a college roommate. And the only thing that they got was 5 figures in cash, which to police officers, these brilliant bastions of intellectualism, large amounts of cash only equals one thing. You're a friggin' drug dealer. End of discussion. So I spoke to the attorney about this, how coach him through how easy it was at the prelim the next day to impeach the police officers who are claiming that they have probable cause, and he did just what you were saying. He terrified this poor kid. Terrified him. He called me crying. The amount of money that this man made in this one case exceeds more than I make in a year, okay? It sickens me how much money this piece of garbage made. He didn't listen to anything I had to say. All he did was collect more money to listen to me for that hour, okay? He was billing the family for that, thousands of dollars, and then he tortured this kid mentally. He put so much psychological stress on this kid, he broke down at the prelim and wouldn't participate and agreed just to make a deal. And part of the deal was, everybody, this is what you have to do. You have to sign away the money. You have to promise never, ever to file a claim against them. But to get to the actual point what you were asking me before, because when you were saying this, I thought you were talking about the Bundy case. This is something that's been going on for a long time, because I'm looking at...
This is why I called you, actually. In fact, I was going to wait for your Saturday show, because, I listen to you all the time. I listen to the Skype role play. And, brother, I cannot even begin to emphasize enough how important it is, even whether you participate or not, to listen to those videos. Because when you arm yourself... just by listening to it over a long period of time, you begin to pick up the dialect, the vernacular of the things like, excuse me, but, I don't have to give you my ID unless you're charging me with a crime. There's basic responses. I mean, not even that, but even at the court level, do I have a right to a fair hearing? But on that premise of police officers alleging probable cause, what about, I don't hear anybody, even in most of the videos I watch on the YouTube, all these guys, Johnny O, High Desert Community, those are some of my favorite ones. Joe out of Hawaii, of course. He's gotten more angrier these days than he is more as a teacher. But, nevertheless, aggression by anybody in blue or wearing a badge or any public official is instantly a violation of my right to be innocent until proven guilty. I have a right to be presumed innocent in anything I'm doing. Any conduct should be seen or deemed as a violation of that right. But I don't see many people kind of stopping it instantly, going, the minute you are asking me for my ID because you find me, or the minute the word suspicious comes out of any law enforcement's mouth, it should be stopped instantly. Well, you're instantly violating my right to be presumed innocent of any of my conduct. And so how is it that society is letting anybody get away with that? Even these... Hold on a second. I got to, because I am still limited on time and I have other calls, so just hold tight. It's not a matter of people, we're working on getting to there. We have a tremendous amount of apathy to be able to overcome, because people have to realize that they are criminals, and they also have to realize that there is a better way. We can socially evolve, and we don't have to have a ruling class. So we are working towards that. It's what we do on the show. But I do want to point something out because I thought you were talking about the Bundy case, and the Bundy case is quite startling in that the judge, and I don't have the decision here, but it's a Judge Navarro, threw it out and barred. They threw it out with prejudice, barring the prosecution from refiling. This judge is actually doing what seems to be the right thing here. She said that she admonished the government for, quote, flagrant prosecutorial misconduct and withholding potentially exculpatory evidence. This is so common. It is SOP. This is the judge doing something here is what is out of the ordinary. The judge actually doing something. And I want to just take a moment. I got it. But that's the reason why I called you, is because when that Bundy case came out and I was reading it yesterday, I was ecstatic because this fifth defendant guy, it's the exact same kind of case. So here's the thing, that it's very difficult to get access to the motions that Bundy filed so that people in America can start seeing what happened and what kind of motions and what kind of language he used that was necessary to expose the government just arbitrarily spinning innocent conduct into criminal federal felonies.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's how they got what's her name, Martha Stewart. Because she made false statements.
Right.
But I can document.
They threatened her, so she pled to something other than what she was charged with.
Well, that's what people do. They plea it down. But I can show documented proof that IRS agents routinely lie and make false statements. Now, it's not necessarily to an FBI agent. It doesn't have to be under Section 1001. You just have to make a false statement in their jurisdiction. And if the IRS, it's within their jurisdiction, it's in their, right? Does anybody do anything about it? No, we've got another TIGTA complaint that's going to go in, and I'm hoping that, because I'm hoping that they're going to do something, at least leave the guy alone, which is what we have happen most of the time. But they're not going to go after them. And did...
Right, but going back to the question, though, when you have a case like Bundy, where you have I can't even begin to explain how the benefits of this federal judge, what she did for America by this ruling. It's amazing how awesome that is for us. But look at the case that I'm talking about that was 10 years earlier, where what do you do in that case? Because he is still going to file. It's still ongoing 17 years later for him because he's being denied motions on technicalities instead of on their merits. So now he's only being given one last opportunity, which, as you know, is the writ of quorum nobis. And so he's going to use that opportunity. But in his habeas corpus, he tried to recuse the judge and stated all of the political reasons why this judge worked at the same places that this guy worked at.
Wow.
He talked to the same people, knew the same friends. I mean, it was the judge benefited from indicting everybody. So it wasn't just his bias; it's his political affiliations as well. And so that's where I'm calling it, to try to see if I could help find a way to help my bro get rid of this judge. If there's case law, I mean, this judge should be recusing himself because he knows these defendants. And, he was appointed as a judge by these defendants' political opponent. I mean, he was pushed. You know what I mean by pushed, for his appointment. He was pushed as a local municipal judge here in San Joaquin County, and he was also pushed at the federal level. So the problem is, like you said, is how do you recuse one judge so that an honest, fair judge, because there's a collusion going on with the judge and the U.S. attorney. The guy can't get a fair hearing until he gets out of that courtroom and can get up to a level where he's not being extremely biased by the rhetoric that was overturned.
Yeah, well, let me address that, because under Section 455 of Title 28, the U.S. Code, you have to have grounds to show that he's biased against you. And the courts have ruled that bias has to be from a non-judicial source. It can't be the source his rulings can't be the source of the bias. So here you can show that they're political. His bias comes from political ties. But you can also show that if his bias is so great that a fair trial is not possible, then 455, he has remedy by recusing. Now, the sad thing is, he can easily just say, Abba Fongul, and deny this. So what's your remedy for that? Now, technically, he has a very solid remedy by going into the Court of Appeals on a petition for a writ of mandamus to review the denial under Section 455, because it's mandatory, and because it's mandatory, mandamus is appropriate to review that. The problem is, now, maybe this is different for him because he's a government, he's an inside guy. But for me and people that I've worked with, not one single federal court has ever taken jurisdiction on a petition for a writ. Ever. Except for a habeas corpus. All the other writs, they've never once taken jurisdiction on a petition for a writ to review the denial under Section 455. So that's where he is. He's got to bring something under Section 455 of Title 28.
Or the other option would be to not attack the judge's biases in his coram nobis, but then it goes down in history that was placated.
Well, I would do the Section 455 first and see where that goes, because at least that gives you. Well, yeah, you might be able to do them at the same time, get that filed, and maybe the U.S. attorney will actually respond to something like that. But you know you're right about the federal courts, because they know. Look, it's just like I'm saying. They know that on paper you have remedy, but they won't give you remedy. It's just like there is absolutely an exception to the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act. There is. It's under the Enoch case, and I'll have that in here in the video. There is an exception. They won't recognize it. In 20 years of me doing this, not one single federal judge has acknowledged that exception exists. It's the same as in California. So the federal level is so unbelievably corrupt. That's why if they attack you, chances are they're going to get their 97%, they're going to keep getting their 97% conviction rate. It's bad. And so the best I can do is, I would say, at least get the Section 455 motion in there to get that judge recused. And you're going to have to be able to show all this evidence to be able to have any chance whatsoever that if it's denied, that you can get a petition for writ of mandamus heard. Okay, I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm
just absorbing it, because I mean, it really is corrupt at the federal level.
Well, sure. There's absolutely there's absolutely no question whatsoever that federal judges are as dishonest as the day is long. Absolutely. But well, let's take a second and look at what this Judge Navarro did. Now, I have been threatened with contempt in federal court just for trying to stand in front of the bar, okay? Not saying a damn word. I've been threatened with contempt in federal court just for picking up books to help somebody clear his stuff out. So they're very, very free with the contempt charges, okay? Now, this judge is talking about flagrant prosecutorial misconduct. She could very easily have said, you know what? That's contempt of court. You sons of bitches are going to prison for 60 days. She could have taken every single one of those prosecutors and their boss, and the U.S. attorney, and could have put them all in jail for contempt. Did she? That would have been, that would have made front page news. They would have been talking about that on Fox, for heaven's sakes. I didn't hear anything about that. So if she really is, and this is why, you have to temper this, you have to really look at a bigger picture. Yeah, holding prosecutors, at least saying that and throwing their case out, their complaint rather, or indictment, that's great. But you gotta go a big step further, because the only way to stop these people peaceably, or as peaceably as this, is to throw their asses in prison for contempt. Prosecutorial misconduct, flagrant, that's 90 days in prison. So kudos to this Judge Navarro for doing something right. You really want to send a message to these people.
You're right. It's never enough.
Yeah. If they don't, gonna be enough. Right. If they don't take these damn cheap, empty suits and put their asses in prison for 6 months for prosecutorial because imagine the shockwave that would send to these local prosecutors and all other prosecutors. They're like, holy crap! She just set a precedent. They're putting us in prison for this. So a lot of prosecutors may turn around and say, you know what? I want to be a judge pretty bad. Not that bad.
Right. So the people don't even realize, too, how much, I don't want to go there because, I'm an anarchist at heart, but, the 90% of the bubble of the world that believes in this fairy tale of authority, they're magically electing these people that are actually appointing Nazis into high positions in government that are in charge of punishing innocent American people. I say people. I don't believe that anybody's a citizen either. But at the same time, somebody's giving all these people authority, and the revolution is now beginning with the millennials. Because in the 80s, all you did was kind of go, man, I just got jacked up, and everybody kind of goes, oh, you got caught, oh, sucks to be you. But now today you can see it for your eyes, 17-year-old kids getting murdered by cops for them defending themselves. Why'd you pull me over? Because you flashed your lights at me. I have a right to life for that stuff. So the thing I do like more and more is that YouTube is growing bigger and bigger with videos of government corruption. And the Bundy case is amazing. I just wish that we can get our hands on the motions so that I wish that's what the media did and put out what the Bundy said in their motions that exposed it so that the judge would rule on it. Because you know as well as I do, judges don't rule on stuff that aren't before them. So he presented an argument before them that was effective enough that this judge was removed enough from the U.S. attorneys to make such claims of flagrant. I mean, she spanked them verbally, but, I mean, they're back to work on Monday. You know, that's the,
yeah, I know.
That's the bad part of our country.
That's...
If I even so much as run a stop sign, I have 8 jackrabbits running around my car. I have a sergeant trying to open my passenger door, and I got another one at my driver door demanding my papers like it's Nazi Germany. And if I try to escape to a safe place, I'll be shot, and police will justify shooting you in the back of the head while you're trying to get safe from 8 people surrounding your car with guns. So the things are different than they were 25 years ago, but that's a cliche because things are different than they were 1,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago. As an ancient history major, I appreciate the evolution of the thought, but I also studied the evolution of crime and punishment in America. That was one of my classes I took. And you sit there and laugh in class and think, you know, oh, I want to do good and want to be good. I mean, me personally, I passed my correctional peace officer exam on the first try, and that was no big deal. I never became a correctional peace officer because they're scumbags.
Thank goodness.
But I just want to see how hard it was. And it turns out all you need is a high school diploma to become a correctional peace officer, but it's the training on the job. No matter what college you go to, no matter what training you have, once you're in the system teaches you to hate innocent people. They're an enemy. Then you get Afghanistan soldiers that are coming back from Afghanistan. They're applying for police officer jobs, and they're teaching innocent people with cameras like they're walking around with machine guns. Don't even get me started on open carry in Texas. You know, there's a million videos on YouTube that'll educate everybody on how to respond to government aggression. Number one, the Constitution was written to dictate the limitations of government, not of the people. So
that's not true.
I will not tolerate my government aggressing on me.
Well, but that's not true. The fact that there's taxation and jurisdiction, obviously they're giving Congress the power to control our behavior. But I do have to run. I appreciate the call. We got into a lot of good stuff. The thing is, I'll leave you with this. I got to disagree with you on this. They don't see us as innocent. You have to keep that in mind. Cops it's us versus them.
No, that's what I said.
You did? Okay.
I'm sorry. I must have misspoken. They don't see us as innocent.
They don't. None of us are innocent. In their eyes, none of us are innocent. Right. Even if they don't know what you're doing, they know you're doing something wrong. And that we're the problem, not the police officers. Which is why why people will not convict a police officer on video planting evidence. The man planted evidence in South Carolina. Slager.
He's still on the job.
Shot a man in the back while he was running away, lied about it, covered it up, planted evidence, still not convicted. So, there's a lot of education that we still need to do with people. So, but I do appreciate the call.
That education is coming out in tenfold in the past 5 to 10 years.
Well,
it is coming out more and more.
You just hope that the millennials, for example, the younger people, have more of an attention span, and it's not like in this awesome book I just read that is called Amusing Ourselves to Death, that and now this generation, which is 40, 50 years old now, where you see these things, and you just click off that video and go, oh, well, let me go see a meme about Star Wars or something like that. It's like the attention span of, is not there.
Not everybody.
But that's true. I know. I know. The meme generation is here, so we have to. The revolution will be in memes. So I do need to go. I got to let you go. I got a lot of other calls to get to, but I do appreciate the call, Tyler. Please keep in touch. Call again. Wow, I let time get away from me, but I do appreciate that. And you know, I'm not going to apologize for getting a little heated about this subject because it makes me sick to my stomach. How can a federal judge sit there and be and feign outrage at these prosecutors, and when they've got the tool of contempt, not use it? You know, and Kaczynski's not even on the bench no more. He was the one talking about prosecutorial misconduct is at epidemic levels. He's retiring now because he's been accused of sexual misconduct. So look, if you want, look, if these judges really meant it, they'd put those prosecutors right then and there, just like they would do to me. You don't have a time to make a phone call to your family. You don't get a change of clothes right there in your cheap suit. Your BMW will still be there when you get out. Put them in prison where they belong. If you actually want to do something about prosecutorial misconduct. These are not parking tickets. These are not minor violations. They are destroying people's lives. Anyway, we got a new caller, area code 276. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
AJ from Kansas City.
AJ from Kansas City. What can I do for you today?
I typed in here, you know, most of these judges are corrupt and they're unaccountable to whatever we're trying to do. I'm a lay guy, I'm a pretty knowledgeable fella, but to get into court and fight these guys, I get shut down in a heartbeat because I don't know the law like you guys do. I pull down affidavits, petitions, things like that, trying to, you know, educate myself on it, but you know, for the lay guy, we're going to get shut down because we just don't know the law. You know, what do we do to help the system right itself? I mean, I'm willing to go to court and do things and try throw things out, but anytime I've been there, these guys are high and mighty and just tell you how it's going to be, you know?
I do. They try to bog you down in legalese. Some people will ask the question, has the prosecution met their prima facie burden on jurisdiction? And instead of saying yes or no like an adult, they have to be condescending and rude and say, well, what do you even know what prima facie means? Well, they're asking, what does prima facie mean? We've actually had them come out and say this is starting to be a more common thing, that, excuse me, sir, do you even know what Brady material is? And you want to back, like, are we in high school? How old are you?
It's the sport guys picking on you. The guys that did the jocks are picking on you, you know. Case in point, 3 years ago, I went through and got a DUI obstruction. The DUI came with a 6-month penalty, a fine, $1,500. I had to pay $3,000 for the attorney. The whole point of getting an attorney was to get me out of it and get me off the hook, because I got a security clearance. He told me the best thing I could do was plead guilty to both of them. Come to find out, when the cop, they postponed it 5 times over a 5-month period, and the cop was in rehab for beating his wife up for stealing pills off of people, because that's the problem epidemic we have in this town. He was in there for beating people up and beating his wife up on pills. The attorney never told me that, but his best guesstimate was to plead guilty. I didn't know what to do. I pled guilty like an idiot. Now I've got a marred record, you know?
Well, you know, the thing is they exert an awful lot of pressure on people. I talked about that before, how this kid in Nevada was psychologically tortured, basically, by his own attorney, who, again, had enough. I mean, Mike, he made more on that case than my car cost me. My car. So... I get it. They pressure you, so don't beat yourself up. You know, if you're in a rough situation and the attorney is, hey, he's the one who plays ball there every day. He knows the system. He knows the judges. He knows the prosecutors. And he's going to use that to his advantage so that he can get the maximum amount of money from you with the least amount of work for him.
It's money, felony convictions, and when they pull you over, they want to search you and hang you. You know,
sure.
I just real quick, thank you so much for being here for us and helping us. And I'm going to try to get more involved in the system and try to get this thing righted, you know. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate that. What I would say is that to get better in engaging the system, do the role playing for one. That's big. No Frank Rizzo 3 on Skype. But do like I say, go to a city council meeting and confront them. asking these questions point blank. There's almost no risk of going to jail. They're not judges. They don't have contempt power. All they can do is maybe yell to have you arrested for disorderly conduct. And get that up on YouTube, because it tends to cause an outrage when people see stuff like that. There was something about a teacher just asking a question recently, and she was arrested. So do that to help prep.
They're the ones that are outbursting and putting you in jail for it.
Yeah, I know. The amount of dishonesty is absolutely mind-boggling. It's like I mentioned Herbert Pierpan a number of times. Mike was in the court, and he put him down as a no-show. Lied through his teeth, and it survived appeal, even though there was solid evidence that Mike was there. Lying scumbag, yeah. Herbert Pierpan. And the thing that kills me is he's an old man. There's no way he would be that tough if he ever took that robe off and went out on the street. There's no way he would start picking on me, Mike, or anybody else and acting that tough. He's only that tough because he's got an automaton with a gun who's willing to carry out his orders. That's like the ultimate in cowardice. The one who can only give the order but can't actually carry out the aggression himself. What a sniveling little... Okay, my Irish...
The military has a code of conduct. I wouldn't go... the war when I was in the Marines unless I was going with you, and they don't have the honest themselves.
No, they well. So the other thing I would suggest doing is look at my wiki page, because I know I need to update that, but we still have a lot of information there. Look at videos. There is an awesome video that done by a federal judge. I forget when it was done, but he's breaking down the federal rules of evidence. Which, if you know the federal rules of evidence, you're going to do pretty good at the so-called, states, because most of them adapted those. Yeah. Watch that and other related videos so that you understand the rules of evidence. And also the Socratic method. Look into the basic principles of logic. And don't listen to when people say, oh, you can't use logic in court. Yes, you can, and you damn well should.
Yeah.
The fact that something may not be arbitrary comes from logic. Okay, it's just that they adopted certain parts of logic. They just use different words, which is fine. Lack of foundation. What do you call that? That's because it's arbitrary. You haven't had a sufficient enough facts to make that claim. Basic logic. Okay, so those are some of the things that I would suggest doing. Look at it, and actually you can go online now. It's not like it used to be. You don't have to go to a library. You can actually just go online and read the rules of evidence or watch these videos. Get those things. Some of the other things, a lot of YouTube videos will have it, and I talk about a lot of it. So if there's ever anything on the show that I'm discussing that I don't explain or don't explain clear enough, then just, Skype me during the show or after the show, or call in and just ask me. That's why I do the show, is to help people prepare and defend themselves in court, and also to to be able to talk to other people and convince them of where their thinking may be wrong. Not by telling them that they're wrong, but by asking them questions and having them think and having them realize that, oh gosh, I can't actually support my position, whatever that position may actually be. So it's engaging people by asking questions and using the Socratic method. Why do you believe that police officers are invincible? Why do you believe that just because someone's a police officer, they have to be telling the truth? Just put the burden of proof on them. If you think cops are infallible, tell me why you believe that is true. Have a discussion. You'll find out that nobody is able to tell you and give you a valid reason why a cop should automatically be given a presumption of correctness. There's no valid reason.
They assume they're correct because they're on the same payroll.
Well, I'm talking about also just the average person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, police and prosecutors are on the same payroll as the judge, and so the judge is obviously going to give deference because they're on the same team. We know how psychology works today, at least that much. We know if people are on the same team. This is why you can see on TV with a football game, and it can be such a sharp divide in an obvious, bad call. Nobody for their team, especially when it's in the last few minutes, wants to admit that it's a bad call and lose. That's what the herd mentality tends to do, or with the team mentality. So the fact that the judge, prosecutor, and the cop are all on the same team has psychological implications and will change behavior. To say it doesn't change behavior is just to ignore the evidence. So, if people are willing to kill each other, over a sporting event and riot over a sporting event, what about all that prestige and money? So, right.
Well, that's the only other recourse that I have is go down here with the jury nullification and put them on all the cars. Of course, I don't want to get arrested doing anything, but I'm going to start doing little things around here to try to change it.
Well, go to a city council meeting. Ask them ask them the questions. And again, I'll repeat for people who are new. I know that you operate under the presumption that if I'm physically in Kansas City, then your laws apply to me, and that's the basis of your jurisdiction. Do you have any evidence whatsoever to prove that that claim is true? And then just wait. And people watching don't necessarily need to hear an answer. They could just refuse to answer, and people will understand. It's the same as asking, the other one is, if I did things like you guys did, and I forced people to, strangers to give me money, would you consider me a criminal? Everybody gets what you're asking. So whether they answer you or not, the damage is done to the public perception, which is what we're trying to change.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate the call. And, if you're going to go to a city council meeting, let us know.
And that was Caswell, Virginia, not Kansas.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'll take care of that. I'll correct that. Thanks. All right. I appreciate the call. You can't have any kind of empathy and not get a little bit, angered or bothered when you hear these stories and you hear about what's happening in these courts. And it's not a matter of, oh, well, Mark, you're just an anarchist and you don't like the federal courts because you can't win there. All you can do is convince cops not to show up in court. So you got a whole string of things and cops don't show up. We are making an impact, and so somebody even may say that, I don't like the federal courts because I'm biased because I can't win there. We have had things, tossed out there. It's just, it's not as often as the state stuff, and they are more corrupt. So I know I've said that the state courts are, there's not one that's worse. I will go on record as saying that the federal courts are far and away worse than the state courts. These judges don't give a damn, and they know that your recourse in federal court is a lot more limited than you have at the state court. Because at the state level, when you're doing something in traffic court, you have a lot of options. There's a long road of review available to you. So after you exhaust state remedies, now you can start doing it with a federal habeas corpus. And at the federal level, then you're not dealing with other federal agents. You're dealing with state agents. But when you go to the federal level, look what happened to Mike. They called in a ringer. They called in a guy from San Diego, Larry Burns, who, unlike the previous judge when Mike got a hung jury on the felony charge, unlike that judge, as bad as he was, Larry Burns actually went so far as to threaten Mike that if Mike was to dare defend himself and challenge the foundation of the prosecution's case, he would go to jail. Imagine that. Yeah, we've got some standouts in state court that just for asking a question, you go to jail. And that's another interesting point. Dick Noble and some of these other guys put people in jail for asking a damn question. And yet this Judge Navarro throws out the indictment against the Bundys, cites flagrant prosecutorial misconduct. Doesn't put him in... Doesn't even give them a token contempt. Doesn't even say that's $100. Nothing. Nothing. So the feds, yes, if the feds come after you, you're in deep trouble. You are. There's no two ways around it. They look what they did with Aaron Swartz. The same U.S. attorney drove someone I worked with to kill herself. That when one judge, another magistrate, ordered the release of her husband, who was advanced in age and was sick, when that judge ordered his release for pretrial, so he could defend himself. The prosecutor ran up to the judge's, the main judge's chambers and got it reversed. Every door was shut in her face. She tried to plead guilty. All the prosecutor had to do was support their claim of jurisdiction. All they had to do, she would have pled guilty. Wouldn't let her. Why? Because the prosecution doesn't have any damn evidence. Zero. So, yeah, the feds, pretty damn corrupt. It's like what Tyler said, monsters. Federal prosecutor, chances are, you're the scum of the earth. You're a monster. These people are willing to say and do whatever is necessary for a conviction, including putting innocent people in jail. And we know that Ken Anderson is just one of them while he was a state judge. Because it's saying on here, they even had FBI logs on the surveillance of the Bundys, that they were not dangerous. And there was internal reports about misconduct involving BLM agents that they knew about and didn't hand over in discovery. And it's a matter of procedure. You putting innocent people in jail? Yeah, you guys are the scum of the earth. Absolute trash. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to end the show, as some other people heard. Actually, I'll take one quick phone call because it's a local call. We got area code 480. You're on the No State Project. I got only a few minutes.
Hey, Mark. I appreciate everything you've done. And, well, how do we get to this really fast?
Well, what part of the valley are you calling from?
Phoenix, currently. I was in Paradise Valley when I got stopped and whatever.
Okay, well,
unfortunately.
Okay,
yeah.
And I you know what? And you do it. All right, so you got a traffic ticket?
Yeah, I was stopped for passing in a no passing, and I was given no failure to provide identification, which was then a criminal.
Right.
As well as the civil.
I've been there, my friend. Okay, so and what was your name?
Jared.
Oh, Jared. Yeah, I wish we didn't have the problems today. What I would suggest doing, I think you're already in the chat, right?
Yeah, I was able to get, and those guys helped me out. It was a tremendous resource. Thank you very much. They helped me out, and I basically, even though there were things I could have done better, they prepared me as well as they could have, using the logic and the Socratic method. And still, even then, I mean, even when faced with the fact that I had video evidence of having the cop having the driver's license on his clipboard in the video evidence that they submitted from the body cam footage.
Jeez.
That they still convicted me of failure to provide identification when I had provided them with a TSA pre-check. It's called a global entry card. And a driver's license that was valid.
Wow.
And everything, all of that, and that was into evidence, and they still convicted me of failure to provide identification along with passing and a no passing.
I had Brian Strong, who still practices law here in the Valley, convict me of failure to produce ID fast enough. So
yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So I totally understand. And Brian was actually the inspiration for the cover of the first book. Somebody else was actually used as a model, but he was the inspiration for that. So if you look him up, you'll understand. Hey, I would really like to get into more about what happened, but I can't. I do have to end the broadcast because I did start late.
Process,
okay, well, this post-conviction, this post-conviction relief that we can talk about. So hopefully you can give me a call on the Saturday broadcast. We can talk more about it, but contact me off air and we can I can send you the documents for post-conviction relief, okay?
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, appreciate the call.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
My name's Mark Stevens, and I think we got to a lot of good material here, and it was off to a rough start, a little bit of a tech issue. I'll get some editing done. I will get the audio for this broadcast up at markstevens.net today, but this has been episode 47 of the No State Project, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona for January 10th. I will be live on this Saturday, so hopefully we do hear back from Jared. Anyone else that I missed on the broadcast today, definitely call on the Saturday broadcast. And remember, libertopia.org is where you go to sign up for Libertopia, which will be May 3rd through the 9th. So definitely, May 3rd through the 6th. So definitely check that out. Again, my name is Mark Stevens. You've been listening to the No State Project, but it is on my YouTube stream. And until next time, salud.